Hey Mo,
Hey, Ricky.
the doctor is in.
Yes, 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 we are. And it is the last Wednesday in this self-exam, self-care September.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about what that empowers us to do and what exciting things we got planned for October. So today is a very, very special show.
It's a very special show. This show is like 2 years in the making.
I
And
love
I'm
it.
so excited. I'm so excited because we're surrounded by our Genentech dream team. And
Yay.
we've been working with Amy and Lauren on this forever. And we have Lauren Davis, our advocacy cheerleader, and Amy Vassell, who's like our, oh my gosh, our clinical trials guru that we adore. And we have our baby breasty Latoya.
Mm.
She calls me her breasty mama, which is like,
Love it.
and Val. And so you guys, let's go back because we're going to launch today. We're going to like officially in broadcast launch Touch Care. We've been talking about it a lot, but let's go back, Lauren, and talk about what happened like almost 2 years ago, right? Did I call you or did you call me?
I think I called you.
I think you called me.
I think I called you and I think I said, we've got a crazy idea. Do you have a little time to listen to this idea that we've got? And Ricky, you said, absolutely, I do. And really, where we started was a relationship between Amy and me, and really thinking about how can we help patients? How can we help patients in clinical trials? How can we help patients get into clinical trials? How can we help patients once they're enrolled? How can we help them, support them with all of everything that is involved? From their perspective, from the family perspective, from the practical, the logistics, all of the time, and everything else that's involved. And we really started with a how might we
How might we?
approach. And that's where it all began. I am speaking to you live from the beautiful city of San Francisco. You're hearing streetcars and lots of other exciting things around me today. So that's what's happening.
I love it. I love it. And we said, how can we do this? And you said, right, that from Genentech's perspective, you can't really talk directly to patients in a clinical trial, right? Because of the whatever, it's like a firewall or whatever. So, but I said, but I can, we can, right? So let's figure it out. And I said, because I have a secret weapon. I have Val. And she does this every day, right? This is her day job. And so I said, how we got to figure this out. Let's figure it out, right? And then Amy came into the picture, and what happened?
All the walls tumbled down.
Wow. Amy, tell us about you and your role. Tell us more.
About my role, yeah. Well, I cannot even begin to express how grateful I am for the relationship that Lauren allowed me to have with Valerie and Ricky and now Latoya and Dr. Mo. It's so nice to see you too. We had lots of ways that we thought we were reaching patients before this idea came along. And what I very quickly learned is those ideas are not even close to what this patient navigation program is going to do for patients and the ways that we can actually get to the roots of what they really need. I remember the first day, Valerie, that we had a brainstorm where you were kind of telling me I needed to learn what it is that we were going to do in this program. And I took these notes that just went on and on and on because you were so very infectiously passionate about how, all the things that patients need when they're going through clinical trials. And how, remember the thing you said is like, how are we going to make this clinical trial fit into her life? And those notes just went on, and that's how the program sort of took off. So again, it's it's been an amazing journey. I can't believe that we launched it 2 weeks ago and already, maybe some little nibbles here and there from patients trying to reach out. So it's great. It's great.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were getting into, and I think we just knew there was a need. And we said, okay, how can we help them, right? And we started talking about it. And I think, LaToya, can talk to just being a patient and the experience. But I remember the first time you called me, you were looking for information, right? So
Yeah, right. I reached out to you because I was like, hey, have you heard of this new drug? A new immunotherapy drug that I didn't receive. And it just volcanoed from there, just erupted from there. But throughout that process, like a couple months prior to my initial contact with you, I was actively searching for clinical trials. And there's so many different parameters and exclusion criteria and, distance and, this subtype of disease. There's so many different filters, just literally all these filters that you have to go through to ensure that you are actively enrolled in the right program. And for the average individual, that can be very challenging. I mean, it's challenging for people who do have medical backgrounds. So, I can just imagine how it is for people who don't. And the main, like the main clinical trials website, it's not really user friendly.
that's like
So yeah, it's like reading, a foreign language that you don't understand and you can't comprehend. So I'm over the moon, filled with joy that, that we, Touch has this program now to navigate patients where we can speak their same language, and there's a relationship that's kind of built on trust as well, and knowing that we're going to get you enrolled in the program. And I had to keep fighting to try to get enrolled in the program, whereas it actually resulted in me having to fire my first oncologist and get another oncologist and said, hey, I want to be enrolled in the clinical trial. This is what I found so far. What can you help me with? And it was just that expectation that was set up from the beginning. So if we could even translate that information into all of our fellow breasties, like just having them to set the bar and having them to know that they have these expectations of care and that they want to be research, that they want to join a clinical research trial to save their lives, period.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So Val, here we are. This is your
Yeah.
baby. We birthed the baby. And now we have this Touch Care. And so we are gonna and we're gonna show you kind of what we're launching, but in a minute, but we now have the opportunity to really talk to patients when they're talking about the trial, when they're trying to figure out what to do, when they're explaining it to their mamas, and they can call you 24/7.
Absolutely. And I think the beauty of this is that we finally closed the gap. So now we become the village. It really is a village. So if you think about the medical center and that medical center family, and then their actual families at home, and then we get to go out into the community and come alongside the patient and the family to close the gap. So it really is a village now taking care of that patient. And so there is not 1 second, 1 minute that they can't contact a medical person. And for a cancer patient, that's like enormous. Even me as a nurse, I was frightened after 5 o'clock, because I know the culture and I know that people don't want to get called at 5 o'clock. And so if I had a question, I was, it's not too bad. I can wait until 9 a.m. But that patient now does not have to wait. Even if that family challenges them with a question, hey, they can pick up the phone and call us. And I love that.
Yeah.
So Val, tell us the components of this, because I'm hearing snippets of it and kind of I get a sense of how it helps patients, but like what does it actually entail? What's the full picture?
So we get a referral from the sites. And so they give me basic information. Of course, they have to get permission from the patient. And I contact the patient and just do a mini assessment to see what's going on, how they're feeling. And the beauty of this is I'm not just looking at physical problems, but the whole psychosocial piece of it, because I know that that plays just as much of a role as if they're having a side effect from the medication. And then if there are needs that are in the community that I can connect them to, I can do that, as well as I'm in contact with their research nurse and their provider. And so there's constant information going back and forth. And the other thing that I really like is that the team, the research team, is not intimidated by me being a navigator. It's like, now there's another arm out here that can help. And so we're all working in concert. It's like this beautiful orchestra that's playing all these beautiful notes, and the patient is singing the song of their choice. So I just love that we
Oh,
get to do
that's
this.
a beautiful description, huh?
Isn't it? So we're just wrapping our arms around the patient. What do you need? And Val can say, like, you know, the Whole Foods is down the street. Let's order you some food, or let's, you know, let's go take a yoga class, or let's,
Yeah.
you know, go get some, you know, go get a massage, or go take a walk and find a park for them. Like,
Yeah. Or here's a
salsa
support
therapy,
group, or
get a
did you
support
know
group.
this was around the corner, or all those
Yeah.
things that if you're not a cancer patient, you don't look for these things. You don't even know they exist. And you may walk by them 10, 15 times a day and not realize what you actually have in your community. But that's our job, to find these resources so that our patients can have the care that they need. And I think when a patient is comfortable and not as frightened, I think they receive their medication, when you say, Dr. Mo, much better than someone that's tensed and frightened and all of that. So we're trying to create an atmosphere of healing. That's really what we do. And I think it works when we help it work.
Wow. Wow, absolutely. I
I
love
think
it.
one of the things that when we talk about this, so the study that this is part of is called the Avera Breast Cancer Study. And when we've been talking about this program to the sites, and we sort of describe who Valerie is and what her journey's been, and just that she is a voice of trust. She is someone who actually understands, like, the patient can cut out like all of the explanation about how I'm feeling, what it's like to be a patient, because she already knows. And
Right.
they can get right to it and talk about like why the things, you know, maybe seem hard, or maybe there's barriers to them wanting to participate in a trial, because she's already right there with them. And that's what the site's like.
Wow,
That's
how
what
many
they
sites
can-
are involved?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What'd
How
you say,
many
Ma-
sites? I said, how many sites are involved?
So right now we have 49 in the US, and they're pretty much spread. I could show you guys a map, but they're spread pretty much across. We have a little bit of a gap in the middle of the country, but we don't have the study in that area as much as we do in like the southeast, northeast, mid-Atlantic area. That's like where all the ladies are going to probably come from. But it's 49 and counting. We're still collecting more approvals now.
Yeah,
so-
I'm gonna show you the website for the trial, because I think it's so beautiful. And you see that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we were
Yeah,
able
I said.
to play a role in some of this creative development. So
Yeah.
that's why all the people have curly hair.
Awesome. Yeah, such good feedback, such good feedback.
So we helped do that, and then we made this lovely video with Latoya. So let's take a look at this.
Monday morning comes on July 26, 2021. I'm actually working in the ER at this point, and I get an alert on my phone. It said that results were ready. I found out that I had triple negative breast cancer
at the age of 36 through a text message on my phone while I was working in the ER with no family history. Sorry, guys. I just couldn't believe it. This summer of 2021, I felt a lump in my left breast just doing a monthly self-exam. I'm a healthcare provider myself, so I really didn't think much of it at that time because I had recently stopped breastfeeding about 5 to 6 months prior to that. Towards the end part of my neoadjuvant chemotherapy, I had learned about a life-saving immunotherapy they had. And when I learned that I did not receive this immunotherapy, I asked my doctor about it. He turns his screen towards me and said, well, it wasn't on my list, so that's why you didn't receive it. And so at that point, I fired him. I got another oncologist. When I reached my new oncologist, during the second appointment with her, we found a clinical trial. She had me in the clinical trial within 1 week. When I received the congratulatory news that I was able to enroll in clinical trials, I was just like, oh my God. I felt as though, okay, this is probably one of the best things that I can do for my children. It kind of made me feel like I'm setting up their medical trust fund so that they're sampling me, my body, and they're studying my body so that my children potentially won't have to battle this same disease. Clinical trials study investigational drugs that may be more helpful, not just for me, but for everyone who has this disease, for everyone who looks like me who has this disease, for my daughters who may develop, who will develop breasts in a few years. I don't want them to have this disease. So I feel as though being in the clinical trial is a win-win situation. The studies show that the main reason why Black women don't participate in clinical trials is because point blank, we're not asked, we're not considered, we're not offered. And so we need to be proactive as Black women to ask for clinical trials from the first step. And one thing that I want other women and people of color to know is that I know that we have a strong history of medical mistrust, but we have paved the way, and it is not like that anymore. You're not just a test subject, that you're actually a human body being studied in a clinical trial. It can help also break down those healthcare disparities that we have so that we can get to the end and fight cancer to end it all forever.
Of those pictures of the baby.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. I think that's gonna be what I send out to the churches for Pink Sunday. They need to.
Yeah. You see that?
They need to see that story. So all over North Carolina, they're gonna hear that, Latoya.
But a medical trust fund for my baby. And you could see that, she's a PA. She was able to demand the care that she deserves. She was able to coordinate her care. And that's what everybody needs. I mean, thank God that she could do that, but most people can't. So now we can help people do this, and we can help them, navigate these crazy situations where they're not getting asked, and navigate, even the services they get once they are in a trial, and help them feel better. So that's what we're doing.
So what are we measuring? How do we know if this is successful? What does the benchmark of success look like?
Have you talked to our legal team, Dr. Mo? I feel like you have.
I'm a researcher,
Nervous
so
as you know.
I always have to ask these questions,
Yeah, what does
can you
success?
tell? What's other than, of course, the testimonials and the smiles on these patients' faces, and the fact that they are using the service. Like, what are the goals of the study in terms of what Val is doing in the navigation?
Yeah, so Val tag team with me on this, but we're going to look at the numbers of people that have contacted her as just a base case. How many times is she getting called? And at what point in the study are they calling her? Are they calling her when the clinical trial is first offered to them? Are they calling her once they've already gone through 3-4 cycles of treatment? How long are they staying in connection with Valerie? what are the things they're telling her that are the barriers to, making the trial work in their, for them and fit into their lives, and then how long do they stay? So right now we say in the pilot program that, they'll be in the program up to the time that they discontinue treatment on the trial, but hey, if they develop a relationship and Val can help them through the rest and for then on, then that's how it's going to be. There's no restriction there for us, but we're going to look at those metrics. How long, how many people, what are the barriers? What did she offer? And what did that do for them? So anything else to add there, Val?
Yeah, I think minimize ED admissions. So, and of course, that's always a return on your investment.
Okay.
Help minimize side effects. So, maybe they forgot to take whatever, and just for me to remind, did you take this? Or you remember that'll help minimize side effects. So
tell everybody what ED is.
I'm sorry, emergency department. And I promised myself I won't want to use some terminology. And I did.
No, thank you
Yeah,
for the 5-year-old.
emergency department. Yeah.
No, but also Mo, so Genentech helped us actually build a system. So we have this amazing system that Val can track all of this data.
Yes.
So when a new patient comes, we put them in the system, so she can, is able to like monitor every time they call and record everything on this website, this digital system that's going to help us manage the data. So we can then feed back to Genentech, this is how many calls we got, this is how many people we talked to after the third infusion, everybody got a headache or whatever sort of the trends are in the trial. So to help them be able to manage kind of, what to expect, and also have the trial teams, the clinical teams, the providers know what's going on and can see like the bigger picture of what's happening across the patient. So it's pretty cool, this system that we built just for us.
Yeah.
Right. Which is pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have a hotline people can call, and we'll put the phone number in the comments. But we have a hotline they can call Val 24/7. We have, someone will answer the phone all the time and kind of triage the call and see what people need. And then Val has a hotline to the trial site. So if anything happens with the patients that need, she thinks need greater care, she can make that happen. So it's a pretty cool concept, and no one else is doing it except us.
No one else.
Yep, this is so novel. It really is just I think, when I think of the patients of mine who are on trials, and we often wonder how they're doing outside of just sort of the standard things that we're checking for on those trials. I think that this is a wonderful way to really help patients to either get on trial, stay on trial, and really to check in on some of those metrics. And this is phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow.
it really
The
is.
other thing that I like that Ricky thought of, which I think is an excellent idea, that where these patients are, let's look at what resources are available, and can Touch come alongside some of these community organizations so that they can better support the patients. Because oftentimes these people live in really small communities and they just don't have the resources that they need. So for us to be able to identify, those groups and try to support them, that will help. I mean, like what we do will live on, for a very long, long time. And that's what we want to do, is to help build infrastructure in these communities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we actually are, our Precious, one of our interns, is actually working on building a list of things that are in these communities where the sites are. And they're building like the church, and like if there's a local breast cancer organization. So she's building, she showed it to me yesterday, this massive spreadsheet of like all the things that are going on in these cities where the sites are within like a 10-mile radius. So Val will have this at her fingertips to be able to say, well, the Whole Foods is down the street, or there's a yoga class on Friday at the whatever, or there's, or this is going to, so we're sort of building a around like what's going on in those communities. So we'll have that.
Awesome.
I think that's great. I want to say that I know one of the, I've been asked so many times, like, what can the clinical trial have done? Like, what could your site have done that would have improved, your participation in a trial? And there's so many things, right? It's like, childcare, and there's like gas stipends or whatnot. Or, hey, I'm going to be here for then, most of my day for 6 hours or so. Can I have, a sandwich while I'm here or whatnot? Just simple things like that, because I know with my clinical trial, I had to pay for parking.
That's right.
I had to pay for parking. I had to, transport myself there an hour each way. If this program was available just a few months ago when I was enrolled in my trial, I remember there was one time, and I think I told you, Ricky, like, my principal investigator wanted me to get additional labs because I needed to get labs done, and at this time I had to bring my children with me, and I drive an hour to the hospital. I have my 3 babies with me, and they stopped me at the door through the main entrance and say, no, you can't bring the kids in here, to go to the lab to get your labs drawn. Wait a minute, no, the research
Yeah.
nurse called me, my clinical trial nurse called me and said they needed these labs today, and you're telling me I can't come in because I have 3 babies? Like, and then in that instance, I can get on the phone and say, Val, I can call Touch.
Yeah, yes.
This
You
is
get
what's
me a
going on.
babysitter.
It's
And
after
now,
hours.
what's the
Can you?
response? Like, how does that, what happens
Oh,
then?
I told them they were like, well, you can just leave them here at the door. Are you kidding me? I don't know you. I'm not leaving my children with you. And so I had to, in that moment, I had to advocate again for myself, and I had to push just to get blood work done that my doctor ordered for me and that my nurse called me to do. So this is not made up. This is a real life scenario that I went through. These are things that I had to go through, and I'm thankful that I was able to. I have a husband, so I have support, but it's still like, could you imagine a single mother, trying to be involved in a trial and having to go through even more challenges than what I had to go through, whether she has to choose to, put gas in her car or feed her children to go to a clinical trial site. So these are real life situations, whereas, you guys are helping to build resources for women, to be able to get to these trials. But it was, it was tough. There were, there are some challenges. So I'm glad to know that, I, like you said, I don't have to call Val and tell her the why. She knows the why. There's not, that part is just, I don't have to use more energy into going into that because she already knows why. And so just having this extra layer of protection, it's like, okay, you have your mom, and then Val is like the grandma too. So she's stepping
She's a
in and
fairy
saying, no,
godmother.
she's the grandmother too. It's like, no, let that baby have that ice cream. It's okay. No, go and get my grandbaby her ice cream. That's what Val, this is what this program is gonna do for
And
breasties.
Latoya, you bring up a really good point because, a lot of folks get their care in community health centers where there may not be that trial, and they may have to travel to get enrolled in the trial, right? And so it can absolutely be a barrier. And if there are ways to help remove that barrier, that is I think a huge step in trying to, sort of decrease the barriers and increase participation, especially of Black and Brown patients in clinical trials, let alone, because that having to travel to a different system, right? Having to navigate that and park, right? Maybe loss of wages, or you got to get off of work early, or you got to figure out, what's going on with dinner tonight. There's always so many moving parts. And if somebody can just help keep some of those plates spinning a little bit longer, right? Then you get a chance to focus on yourself and put yourself first. So that's huge.
Yeah, like if I could stop, like you just said, hey, where your clinical trial site is, you can stop there and pick up dinner from the Whole Foods because they have a package ready for you, and you just pop that into the oven when you get home. Like, I can't tell you, those little gestures like that, it's life-changing for a woman who's dealing with cancer and have a family. Those little small things like that, I can't tell you how much of a kind gesture and how much pressure it takes off of you just worrying about what you're going to feed your children tonight, or worrying about how much gas I have for the week just to get back and forth. Because it's not just, maybe not just a clinical trial visit. You have labs. You have to go in for labs. So that's another site. That's more gas. Or you may have to go to your other doctor's appointment. So this is wonderful. That's all. It's just wonderful. It really
And then,
is.
and then Val can start to aggregate these things
Mhm.
and say, you know what? We really got to get childcare at this center. Or we really got to make sure that this center provides this. And we can start to think about how we can be more, what's the word, just more comprehensive about how we provide
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
Because she can sort of start to see a picture
Yeah.
of like what's going on with these women, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, and even with the research nurse, when they're building out their budgets, if
Mhm.
they can include
Include that.
just,
Yeah.
even if it's a $20 gas card,
Right.
that would make a difference.
Yeah.
So
Because
that's really
I
good.
asked.
Yeah.
I certainly asked, and I was just told, oh, it's not in the budget.
No,
That's what I was
well,
told.
the thing is too, like, we do put these things in our budgets, like, so we put in, a certain number of dollars per visit for their time, lost wages, childcare, whatever, and parking information. But A, not all sites take us up on it. And B, they're so busy trying to like get the patients to their assessments and do all the things that they sometimes forget that we've offered that and that these funds are available. So, Val knowing this too is like, well, did you talk to your research nurse and ask if this is available in the trial? Because most oftentimes we provide it, but as I said, it's just the last thing that they think of, and it's these funds are available and they need to get used. So anyway, yeah, just that extra reminder that, these are resources that Genentech and other companies like us provide, but they need to get offered. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to make available. Yeah, and you make a good point, Amy. I was on this panel. I know you've heard me tell the story last couple of years ago, before COVID at SABCS, and there's this lovely doctor who was on the panel with me, and she was talking about how, we have gas cards in our office. We have Whole Food gift cards. We can give all these things to people. And I said, well, who manages that? And she's like, well, somebody in my office has them. And well, how does the patient know about it? Well, all they have to do is ask.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm a poor Black woman with 3 kids. Can you please give me a gas card? Not going to happen, but she was clear about that. So I think that's where we can jump in and say, what do you need? Go ask for it. We know the center has it.
Yeah.
I can encourage them to say, ask for what you need and demand the care.
Right.
that you need. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. And it's as simple as saying, is there anything that would prevent you from making that appointment, from getting that treatment? Is there absolutely anything you can think of? Let me know. And that's when all of the information comes out, because
Right.
patients are afraid to tell you they don't have, because
Right.
then they think that they're not going to be eligible for the trial,
Mhm.
because
Right.
you think that there's money involved, and they
Mhm.
have lack of. They will not tell you that
Mm.
they have financial problems. Yeah.
Yeah, and same here. Like I didn't express the why. Like if I'm running, 15 minutes late for my appointment because I have to drive an hour and there's additional traffic, but I had to you make my appointments at a not more so convenient time where I have to drop off my babies at school and I have to go to a daycare, whereas if I can just come straight there, then that kind of shaves off some time too. I'm not saying that every site should have every single resource available, but no one ever asked me why.
Right.
You never asked me why,
Wow.
no
She
one ever
said,
asked me
"You would
why.
never ask me why."
Right.
Yeah.
And then
That's
Val won't
powerful.
have to, because she'll know why.
Yes,
Yeah.
deep.
She's the
But
grandma.
they never ask. They don't. They never ask why. And the people making the appointments aren't trained to ask why. Just fill in the empty, wherever it says there's a blank space, plop a name in, and they don't ask, well, how far are you driving? Do you have another appointment? None of that is asked. And so when the patients don't show up, you guys know this word non-compliant, when it really
Yes.
isn't true.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that stays in a chart, and medical staff sees that, and it just paints a bad stigma of a patient who is compliant, she's doing her best,
Right.
Mhm.
you know, but you just need to ask why.
Yeah.
I love that. We have to change that narrative for sure.
Yeah.
How can people, so tell us again, because I know we saw the website for the actual trial, but how can people access this resource and how can they share it? Is there a link we can put in the chat and make sure that, you know, that people can now send this out? It's live, right? It's live and
Yeah, it's live. Yeah. Well, you know, Amy, do you want to talk about the trial, like who it's for and stuff? That will help too. And then we can put link in the chat for sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. So this Evera breast cancer trial, and by the way, you know, Evera means brave one, and this is sort of, these are some words that we kind of keep with us all the time as we work on this trial. It's for the patients who have so much to do and go through in order just to get healthy. So this is for HR positive, HER2 negative, metastatic or locally advanced breast cancer, this particular trial. It is running in 13 countries, but this program goes on in the US. We have 89 sites in the US. Almost all of them are open now and recruiting patients. And we just, what we're doing now is really socializing the program. It launched on September the 10th. And we're making sure, as we've done for the past several months, that all the sites know about it. You know, some sites have their own navigators. They choose to use their own navigators, and you know, the point is just great, use
The support. Yeah.
what you have. But on the other side of that, you know, Valerie's offering a very different kind of service than typical patient navigation. And within the context of this trial, these patients are always going to have her as a buddy. And so this is the socialization. We want to make sure, so it's available. We don't have a link to sort of get connected to the program, but you guys helping us to get the word out right now is enormous.
Yeah.
Really just giving patients something that they know to ask for.
Yep. And it's going to be, it's live on our Facebook page and on our Instagram and our Twitter. It's all up. You can go there and watch the video and have a link to the website to sign up, and you can call Val. Numbers there. You can call us. You can, you know, always reach out to me, Ricky at touchbbca.org. And we are ready to serve.
Wow.
Yeah.
This really sets the tone for Breast Cancer Action Month, I have to say, you know, because when we look at all of the pink washing that goes on and the awareness campaigns, like everybody's aware, right? We're all we
We're
are
about
more
action.
aware.
We're about action.
And this now is an opportunity to do something. So I think the take home for people who are watching, you know, if you're not eligible for a trial, or if you're a family member or a loved one, or, you know, you just happen to be tuning in a Black doctor and said, oh, this is really interesting, is to take this conversation and share it with your church, your women's group, right? Like amplify this messaging. You know, it's great if you share it with one individual or put it on your Facebook page. We love that. We appreciate that. But send it to your women's group, send it to your sorority chapter, send it to your links chapter, send it out to the people who can get the word out to folks who are either contemplating a trial, maybe enrolled in a trial, looking for that type of support, or looking to get involved in advocacy. You know, Touch is always there, and there are so many opportunities in October and beyond for you to get involved in advocacy, because this work is truly, how do you say it, Ricky? It's your God job.
My God job. It's my God job. But you know, I don't often meet, you know, our pharma partners who it's their God job. And Lauren and Amy, you know, are just amazing to work with. And, you know, it's in their hearts that we came up with this and made this happen. And we're so grateful. And, you know, I always say, you know, my latest thing is I'm so impatient to get, you know, to get better drugs. I'm so impatient. And, you know, like I'm trying to be impatient about being iconic. And you guys are our partners in that being iconic and trying to say, okay, what we're doing isn't working. How can we make it better? How can we make it different? How can we do it better? And thank you so much for being my sisters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always say a brochure or a website is not going to give you a hug. Humans help humans. People
Right.
help.
I love it so much.
That
Yes.
is what we need more of, is people
Yes, we
helping
do.
people, and nobody does it better than y'all. And I'm so proud. We're so lucky to be able to do this with you. Thank you so much.
We're so grateful. We're so
All
grateful.
about human touch.
We're gonna come back in 6 months. So to you guys, yesterday we hit 12,868 Black women in clinical trial portals. And
Wow.
so now we're gonna build on top of that with this program. So these women that are going in can, you know, get the service. So we're so excited with When We Trial. And you guys have been with us from the beginning of When We Trial and
Yeah.
keep doing it. Gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
I know Lauren's trying to catch a ferry, right? So
Yeah,
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank
Wow.
you.
Well, I'll just say
Much
this.
more to
look,
come in October. We have stuff, oh my gosh, every month. So our next show, Mo, is gonna be about all the doctors you encounter with breast cancer.
Whoa.
Yep. Yep.
All the
Who's on the team? Who's on the
On
team?
your
What's
team,
their
who's on your
role?
team, yeah. So what's their role and who do you need on your team? And if you're missing one of these people, you're missing somebody. So we're gonna talk about that next week.
I love it.
I love
Very
it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, we hope it's been relatable and reliable and real. It's what we set out to do every Wednesday night here on blackdoctor.org. We are so thankful for the platform and the opportunity to do it. Thank you to our sponsors.
Our sponsor, Genentech.
Our sponsors, Genentech, are very, very, very special partner. And we're just so blessed to really have these relationships, not just networks, but relationships. So,
Relationship.
yeah, we love it and we appreciate it and we're ready to move some mountains and change the world. So let's keep it going, folks. Doctors.
Doctors in, breasty love,
Resty love.
breasty love, breasty love.
Breasty love.